Ok, zaperu. Ja postavljam. Baš te navicu. Pode chamar.
In my introduction, you heard that my mother and father and aunt and other relatives were lived through the Holodomor. And I just want to tell you that our students also learn best whenever you can connect something personal to them. That was a personal connection for me because I heard the stories from the time I was young, even though that they weren't spoken in very great detail or any depth because of the fear. But if in our students we find some way to connect and make a personal connection, you're going to help engage your students. Also, that prior knowledge piece. We know that we begin with prior knowledge as educators. My prior knowledge began with what my parents shared. So what prior knowledge do your students have to make those connections and to start that engagement? This is a picture of the survivors living in Winnipeg who were filmed and whose testimony is on the DVD. If you look in your resource package that I gave you, there's a DVD that kindly Canada Inns, Leo Ladahowski, CEO of Canada Inns, he sponsored or he paid for us to make that DVD. What we tried to do, and Irka Balan, who's one of the participants today, we tried to identify who were the survivors because at that time people did not want to admit or speak up, and we recognized how important it is to have their living testimony. So we recorded their testimony. Manitoba Education was not able to send out directly the DVDs, but we were able to provide all the school addresses, and we were able to do the actual delivery of it to the schools. So every secondary school received a DVD of this, May Their Memory Be Eternal, along with other resource materials. So this slide is available in all our secondary schools. Next slide, please. What we've done is our Manitoba Education has a site called Belonging, Learning, and Growing for diversity education. Holodomor Education has a prominent spot there, and I just want you to read there the intent, because as educators, when our teachers and our students and our community, our parents, know the intent of what we're teaching, they're going to be more likely to accept it. If they don't know why we're including it, they might be reluctant to allow it or to support it. So it's important that all students know and understand the aspects of the Holodomor, why Holodomor and other examples of genocides are of enduring significance to Canadians and the whole world, because they're important lessons to be learned about human rights and responsibilities, about oppression, democracy, and so on. Below is, this website is available. It's our Manitoba Education website, so the link is below. But if you go to Manitoba Education and you just put in the keyword Holodomor, that site will come up. That site includes a number of teacher resources, historical resources, reference, and so on. And I want to recognize Tony Tavares, who's the main consultant who was the lead on initiating this website. Next, please. What we do in Manitoba Education, I know Valentina mentioned about the curricular outcomes, but what I found in my supporting other educators is that sometimes they're so busy teaching, they don't have a lot of time to figure out what are those outcomes that we have to be teaching to. What I've tried to do is give you a glimpse, an overview of different curricular outcomes, because we approach Holodomor through an curricularly integrated approach, and we're looking at all kinds of connection through social studies, the main one, and English language arts, or French language arts, the other one. We also include the arts, literacy with ICT, math, science, health, and so on. And I'm also going to share with you kind of a K-12 approach in doing that. Next slide, please. Manitoba Education, one of our priorities is education for sustainable development, along with a few other priorities. And we find that Holodomor Education fits very, very nicely. If you've seen the 3 columns of ESD, that middle column that you're looking at about human health and well-being fits very, very closely. If you can take a look there, human rights, peace and human security, cultural diversity, and intercultural understanding. When you approach teaching of Holodomor through an ESD lens, that allows a lot of breadth and a lot of depth in the study. Next slide, please. Literacy with ICT. We know that our young people and ourselves are growing much more, perhaps not dependent on, but perhaps dependent on technology. Manitoba has a wonderful continuum for literacy with ICT, learning how to use the technology in an ethical, responsible way, and to support critical and creative thinking. So that is always underlying anything that we study, because we know that our students are reaching out through the media, through the internet, whatever the resources are available, especially secondary resources. We want to make sure that they are versed in how to make sound judgments about what information to use and what information to be skeptical of. In the bottom right-hand corner, you see a page from one of your Ontario teachers, Helena Sikowski-McAvoy. She provided a resource and allowed Manitoba to use it. And that's a little page which refers to the false reporting by Walter Durante, who was awarded a Pulitzer Prize. When our students understand that they have to be very, very critical readers and thinkers, and literacy with ICT supports that, I think they'll be better prepared to look at the resources we're going to provide them. Next page, please. This is our newest course, and Linda Connor. Linda, can you stand up for a minute, please? Linda Connor, were you the lead or one of the main developers?
Just work with a great team.
Okay, so Linda is one of the consultants who actually worked to develop this. Right now it's in a pilot year. It is an optional program, but if you take a look, it very, very strongly includes in Unit 3, Topic 2, Quality of Life in the USSR, Unit 4, Topic 2, The Famine in Ukraine, 1932-1933. But through an examination of oppression and genocide, those are two themes that allow for the teaching of the Holodomor. Taking action. For the students in this course, they're expected to take action, and taking action by doing something related to their inquiry about Holodomor would certainly be one way of them approaching this topic. Next. The inquiry model, that global core issues course really is inquiry-based model, as much of our Holodomor education is. The teachers and students often use an inquiry-based model. The one on the left is a model by Alberta, produced by Alberta, and very, very effective for our students. Next, please. Remember I said about taking action? I just want to share with you this from Manitoba. These were not from a school. It was from a youth group called SUNG. It was during 2008 when the Remembrance Flame came through. They did a march along with the banner, the torch, and so on. These students in this small way took action. Well, I think for myself as a middle years educator, but for all educators, learning sticks when there's an action to it. When students feel they can make a difference in the world, they are more apt to be engaged and feel very positive about their experience. Okay, next. Okay, our ELA curriculum. This is a very simple slide. It's from a parent handbook that shows you the ELA curricular outcomes or goals. So all of these things we can do by teaching the Holodomor or through the Holodomor education, the reading, the writing, the thinking, the representing, and so on, sharing those dreams, how to manage the information, especially with technology and so on. Next, please. Here's one outcome. The reading, the speaking, writing, and so on, and celebrate and build community. That building of community is powerful. I think that's what we're doing right today, right? We're building a community of Holodomor educators. We want our students to feel they are part of that kind of a community. Okay, next please. One of the things that educators are concerned about is, are children reading enough? Are they just using their fingers to text and so on? Big emphasis on reading that text. But remember when I said about the literacy with ICT, that critical thinking, what is it they're reading? What choices do they have to make in their reading and so on? Okay, next please. Our arts curriculum is a new curriculum. If you haven't seen it yet, you might want to go onto our Manitoba Education website. We have 4 wings of the butterfly. You can see the butterfly represent each of the arts, drama, music, dance, and visual arts. You see an illustration on the left. When I did the workshop in November, and Hadia actually presented, Hadia Matrician was our artist, she taught the teachers a lot about art and how to use art to represent learning for students. So that was one of the pieces that one of the participants produced. At that workshop, it was devoted to teaching social justice and human rights through Holodomor education and art. So art was the focus. That session was attended by 70 K-12 teachers and post-secondary teachers, Ukrainian school director. Then on the Saturday were youth leaders from SUM, and PLUS. That session was very, very successful thanks to Hadia Matrician's expertise in all her education. Hadia, stand up so we can see what you look like. And those that don't know you, so thank you very much. And that has initiated a lot of work in schools right now, helping students to be able to demonstrate their learning through art. Next slide, please. The dance. I'm hoping that our schools will diverge into the other arts besides just the visual arts. I just found this picture on internet because right now I know that a dance group called VTED, I saw an article that they had done a dance about Holodomor. So I'm hoping in our schools, our students have an opportunity through the different learning styles. Perhaps some will write a drama, some will write a song, some will compose music, some will create a dance or whatever, do that. Next, please. For math, statistics especially. So I went to our math consultant and he said, this is a really good fit. And you just talked about statistics, right? And coming to consensus and so on. Next, please. Phys ed and health education. And ours, curriculum, our outcomes are the same in health and phys ed from K to 12. But I just pulled one of them. So here's one. Examining the effects of stereotyping based on a variety of factors. That the whole stereotyping, I think that comes through very much, not just in the Holodomor, but at any time we're looking at behaviors towards other people. Is there stereotyping? Is there discrimination? Is there prejudice involved? Okay, next please. Okay, science. I chose, let's see, grade 4, K to 4. The characteristics of needs of living things. And I put this in here because one approach that we take is based on human rights, but human rights are as a result of our human needs. If you go to the next, okay, that you probably recognize that Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And can we just go to the previous slide again, because I don't want them looking. All right, in your envelope, could you please take this envelope out? And in it, because I'm teaching middle years, I do it very experiential based. There are a lot of pictures here. One of the things that you can do that we do is we ask our students or educators to line these pictures up in a continuum of need. The greatest need at one end of the continuum and going to from the greatest to the least or less important needs. I don't know if we've got time to, how much time do I have? 2 minutes? All right. So you can take a look and just think yourself, perhaps sometime today you'd like to do that. When you put manipulatives in students' hands, that helps to engage their learning. Can we go to the next slide, please? A Human Rights Museum. I did contact, because 4 people from the Human Rights Museum did attend our November PT session that I just told you about, and they provided these slides. Can we go to the next one, please? Next, and it's on clicks. All right, so there's their vision for the Human Rights Museum. Next. They have goals for educating. Next. And their objectives. So we do have channels. It's up to us really. How are we going to support those programmers for education? It's up to us to provide them direction and materials and resources. Next, please. There's the museum. It's not completed yet. And there's the kind of programming. So whether you want to bring a class or go online virtual, there's information there. Okay, next. Before, and this is my closing, дуже дякую, but I have a 2-minute video that I think is really important. It's about teaching genocide, how sensitive we have to do. And that's will be my closing.
Hi, I'm Tony Tavares. I'm the Diversity Education and International Language Consultant with Manitoba Education. I just wanted to share with you some thoughts about teachers who may be teaching about the Holodomor or other acts of genocide, or even current events that feature issues related to war and conflict. I think the thing that I would want to share with you is to remember that in your classroom you may have students who they themselves are survivors of war or conflict, who may have gone through periods of starvation, been in long-term in refugee camps and in difficult situations, or they or their parents or grandparents may have been survivors of such events. So when dealing with those issues, it's not uncommon that students may relive traumatic events or may have a personal connection to such things. And as a result, they may want to share with others, or they may in fact remember those periods and maybe not traumatized necessarily, but certainly experience the emotions that are related to being a survivor or a witness to such events. So it's important for teachers to think about who the students are in your classroom, and also to be prepared to deal with either students sharing disclosing those kinds of experiences, or disclosing people in their families that may have experienced those kinds of events. It's also useful to perhaps read some material that is available for teachers about teaching about genocide, and some things to consider in terms of making sure that it's a safe and a positive event for all of the students. Thanks very much.
Дякую.
Thank you very much, Valentina, and thank you very much to all.